if you like what we do here at Off the Deep End and wish to support us, the best thing you can do is to share it on your social media, but also you can tell your mother, sister, cousin, auntie, the kid that's walking by you down the street, your gym crush, anybody about the episode you're listening to and why you liked it. There's also another way to support us, and it's to go to the link posted in the description and on our Facebook page. And when you become a subscriber, you'll have access to subscriber-only content and ad-free listening for every single episode we put out. No matter what you choose to do, I do greatly appreciate you for tapping in, and please do reach out to our Facebook page so we can chat. Tell us what you feel, what you think, what you don't like, what I could improve upon. At the end of the day, this is meant to be a conversation starter. And just to be completely open and honest, every single penny that goes to the Off the Deep End program with subscribers is going to help other people by spreading the word via ads or getting new microphones so we can have more people at a time. And I really do appreciate every single listener. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and don't pass the pain. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Off the Deep End podcast. I'm your still injured and not as muscular as before host, Eddie. I'm here with Miss Jill, absolutely lovely lady, and Jason. So I cannot believe I finally drug your ass up north to Linwood for this.
It's been a minute, bro. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've seen each other. And
Yeah.
I was when I heard you were doing a podcast and an opportunity to come up here, not just to do the podcast, but to see you. That's what was exciting. I had to make it happen, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Well, let's get straight into the nitty and the maybe not gritty, but it could be gritty. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood.
So a very chaotic childhood. My dad beat my mom. I watched that. The only memory really I have of them two together is him, tearing apart the kitchen chairs and stuff because he came home drunk. You know what I mean? Alcoholism ran in the family. We'll get into it later, but I'm thankful my kids broke that cycle. You know what I mean? I ran into my brothers, me. So it was a chaotic childhood. My dad left when I was about 7, moved to Denver, Colorado. And then, as a 7 to 10-year-old kid, it doesn't matter what he's still your dad, you want to do stuff, so I went and visited him.
Abandoned?
Yeah.
He left.
My mom raised 4 boys by herself, Yeah, it was a rough, like I said, pretty chaotic childhood because there really wasn't the discipline and there wasn't the guidance. You know what I mean? My mom did what she could. You got 4 boys, hey, clean up the mess. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Mom's working 2 jobs.
Goodness. Of
Who's
course,
going to clean the house?
Mothers,
yeah,
jobs.
You're not going to get, to boys to do any of that stuff, until we got older. I mean, then things start changing. But when you're young, man, I felt for that woman, no wonder she I don't mean to be rude, but she died too young because, I'm sure the stress and everything, not because of us, but just a lot.
Because of life.
A lot. Life.
Stress is definitely a killer, dude. So 7 years old, your dad leaves.
Yep.
Did that create, I'm sure the answer is yes. That feeling of abandonment, did it take seed at that age,
absolutely.
or
and
did
also,
it come on later?
And also, no, abandonment, also the clinging. I wanted someone to fill that void, which enabled 2 men, to move into my life and molest me, because I wanted that father figure, you know what I mean? And one of them was my mom's boyfriend, and I'm holding my fingers up doing the quotation boyfriend. Well, looking back, all he was doing was using that to get to me,
He's preying on a child.
It's typical of a child molester, a predator. So
predator and then child molesters.
He bought me things, you know what I mean, groomed me, buying me cameras, buying me everything, that I wasn't able to get from my mom because she couldn't afford it, So and then what I found out later in life, really, I thought it was a lot of the combat and everything like that produced some of the trauma, but really I didn't realize how much the childhood shapes us, man.
It does.
My trust issues, my, what's the other way? But yeah, trust was big. It comes from that, you know what I mean? You trust, here's a person, an adult figure that's supposed to be an authority figure, someone you can look up to, and then he takes the ultimate advantage of you and takes, your innocence away. That really, and I didn't realize how much it would affect me later in life.
Did you know that it was a horrible thing at that point in your life, right when you were a child? or did you not know until
you
later?
have that feeling of this isn't right, but at
Mhm.
the same time, that's why they groom you and that's why they buy you presents and everything. And you're, because it's almost, they don't say, here, I'll give you this if you do this. You just know that's the case. It's kind of weird to say that, but it's a fact. You know what I mean?
Mhm. It is.
And of course, you're not going to be, you're too ashamed to speak up that that's happening to you as a boy. You know what
I
I
had a
mean?
difficult time getting put in therapy
Yeah,
when it happened to me, and
absolutely.
at that time I was really young, and it got introduced to me that as if that child had a family member who was gay, and that's what it was. It wasn't explaining to me that there was an age difference, and
Right,
this child was preyed upon.
right.
This it was just explaining to me that this person likes boys. So what is young Eddie gonna probably grow up hating people because of who they loved?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it didn't last long, but I was confused from the age, because
Sure
you
you
just
are.
you just put me in counseling,
Yep.
and you're forcing me every day after school to miss out on sports and
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah.
I can't jump my trampoline because I have to talk to a lady about somebody who is gay.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with gay people? I didn't
Yeah.
know, right?
And
So
and
I was
probably you're in
confused.
the session with them, and all you're doing is I want to tell you what you want to hear so I can get out of here.
Well,
You know?
even more than
Yeah.
that, they kept digging, like trying to find
Yeah.
out more, and I
Yeah.
was like, I just told you everything. I just
Yeah.
said, like, I just said what happened.
Yep.
Do you get excited about this shit? Like,
Yeah.
I got frustrated,
Sure.
rage ensued,
Yep.
things like that. So
Yeah.
I can definitely understand that.
And with me, and I never told anybody until, I mean, like literally I was married and I had, my kids, I mean, I was, 26, 27 years old before anybody ever found out about it.
Mm.
And yeah, sex addiction, that came, and also, I figured this is why only anybody wants to be around me, as they want my attention because they just want to do stuff to me.
Yeah,
They
they
want
wanna
sex,
use you.
they want to use me, and that ended up. And this is all I learned, unfortunately, later on in life. You know what I mean? As I put myself through some treatment and I opened up about it finally. But it's amazing how much that shapes you. And I really thought, oh, it's because of this. Because no, it's because of that happened when I was 10 years old. You don't think about how much it sticks, but that's your growing years, your developmental years. And then that's why predators like that, they really mess kids up, dude, because that's your developmental years.
Yes.
You're learning trust. You're learning, to be a kid or a person, and this is what you're learning how to do. Okay, so all you want from me is me, my sex and stuff like that, so
And it ruins your foundation
it
when you're trying to
ruins
build
it,
you're
bro.
trying to build a home,
Yeah,
and then the dirt
Yep.
is just turning to
it,
slush.
it affected my first marriage hugely, and I didn't realize that was what it was until looking back, now and later in my life, that I literally that was my doing in that part of our failure in our marriage. You know what I mean? Plus we married young. We got 3 great kids who are amazing. But would I've done it again? I mean, the only reason I say I do it again is because I have 3 great kids. You know what I mean? But marrying right out of high school in the military, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you
It's
go,
that,
if
it's
you're
that one
joining
in 1,000.
if you're joining the Army and you're going to get away from, I mean, to get away from life or to start over, stay single and work on you when you first get in. Because listen, what happened to me is I ended up joining the Army. And what it was is I left this chaotic, disarray lifestyle, and all of a sudden it was dress right, dress everything in the military is where it's supposed to be. And I was like, man, this is actually easier.
Mhm.
And then my mind accepted it, and I accepted the discipline from the drill sergeants. I accepted all that, and I thrived in that environment. You know what I mean?
Because you need order, because
Yeah,
you came from chaos.
if you ask a kid, hey, do you need discipline? No. Yeah, you do though. You need it to shape yourself, and that's and that's when I started growing up.
Was your dad in and out of your life up to the point?
Yeah, I'd flown to Denver, I'd done this and everything, and what part of it? Yeah,
Did
I'd
you
actually
feel this weird feeling that he wasn't who he was supposed to be for you?
well, not that he wasn't. Well, I just wanted a dad. That's all it is. I wanted a dad, and I was willing to forgive, and all that kind of stuff. One thing I did learn from him is, my mom wasn't perfect either. Let's be real, and none of us are. But my dad never talked anything bad about my mom. When I later on found out in life, he had some reason he could have, you know what I mean, said things, but he just never did. And so that stuck with me in my divorce. That when I got my kid, I told my kids, I divorced mom. Mom divorced me. You guys didn't divorce either of us. So that's your mom, and I'm your dad. That has nothing to do with her and I not loving each other anymore. You know what I mean? And your mom's a great person. She's a great mother and all that stuff. And even though, my personal issue, I never told them this, but my personal issues with the baby mama was my issues, not theirs. You know what I mean? I never imposed. I mean, if I heard that she was talking smack about me, I just didn't go there and try to, because I don't like people that use kids in the war of divorce.
Pawns?
Yes, dude, it's stupid.
A relationship is not a chess game. A relationship is something you and you both understand this.
Yep.
You give a piece of yourself
Yes.
for a piece of them.
Absolutely.
And you two can build upon that start.
Yep.
And every single bad word is a knife in the
Yeah,
back of that thing you're creating between you two. And it's usually trust.
Yeah.
That thing of trust. And it's essential that it's nurtured. You can't take money out of a bank account and expect it not to run out.
Yeah, right.
You really can't.
Yeah.
And especially for toxic relationships,
gotta have a paycheck going back in there.
You cannot stay together because of the kids. It's not. Oh, it's like a 0 out of 10 recommendation.
Listen, when we started the divorce papers, we had divorce papers in our kitchen cabinet for 2 years. We stayed together for those last 2 years for the kids because neither of us really wanted to be separate from the kids. You know what I mean? And we also fear the unknown. What are we going to do when we separate? You know what I mean? We needed to not be together anymore, but you know, but it ended up happening. And but going back to joining the military, I got away, man. I went up to, I'd never fired a weapon before I joined the military. Never even a BB gun. That's it. A BB gun. So I joined, and literally I heard the drill sergeant say, someone in this platoon that's never fired a weapon before is probably going to be the best shot in here. Never forget, Drill Sergeant Lynn Schoten. You know, we all remember our drill sergeant that really affected us, right? And he was the man, and I looked up to him. And when he said that, I was like, okay, then I'm just going to listen to what they said, because shooting an M16 is not, it's pretty simple if you just
don't miss.
Yeah, that's important. But I mean, just listen to what they're saying. It's really, people make it harder than it is when they're trying to shoot, you know, and I see some of these guys that can't get it right and missing targets. I was just like, why aren't you getting this? Because it just came natural for me. I listened to what they said. And he said, all these guys, you know, these hunting boys, you know, that shot their daddy's hunting rifle, it ain't the same as that M16, bro, you know? And so next thing you know, I'm knocking down targets. I get stationed up in Alaska, and I win a couple marksmanship competitions.
What?
Yeah, bro. I won the 6th ID marksmanship competition 2 years in a row. I could put a round up a Texas from 1,000 meters. Bro.
I'm pretty. Hey, wait! You're gonna have to take me out and teach me how to shoot more than like 500 feet or something like that. I don't know.
I won a medal that they only give to 1% of the military of the Army. It's called the EIC Excellence Competition Badge. Pretty proud of myself.
You should be. That's a major accomplishment.
So you shoot in an Army competition. It's 1, 2, 3, and 400 yards, right? So 100 you're standing, and you have 2 minutes, and you have 10 rounds. 2, you start standing with a 2-round magazine loaded in your M16 and an 8-round magazine sitting on the ground, and you say ready. The target goes up. You drop down into the sitting. You shoot your 2 rounds. Drop the magazine. Put the 8-rounder, because you have to do a magazine change as part of the combat effect to the competition. Okay. And then you shoot your other 8. 300 yards, you do the same thing, but you're dropping down to the prone, and you shoot your 2 magazines. Drop the mag. Put the 8 in. Shoot your other 8. 400. You have 20 minutes to shoot the 10 rounds. Okay, so that means you shoot one, they pull the target, put the dauber in it, pop it back up, and you can adjust, right? It's because you're 400 yards away with open sights. Open sights, iron sights, right? Okay. So the 100, my claim to fame, bro, is I got up there and I learned you can't hold a weapon still. Your heart rate will literally move that weapon, okay? So I thought, well, if I can't hold it still, why don't I control the movement? And I learned the time. So I zeroed my weapon, because we used a shoulder. It was a shoulder silhouette. You know what I mean? The head and just the shoulders. And then it had a 5 ring inside. And then there was a 4-inch circle. We called it the V ring, a 4-inch circle in the center, which was a tiebreaker. If I hit all 10 of them in the 5 and I got 50 points, 4 of them were in the V. You hit all of them into the 5 and got 50 points, but you had 6 in the V. So we both got 50, but you had 6 in the V ring. So you win. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes. Closer.
So, and you had more in the center, dead max, right? So I zeroed it, so the top of that front sight post was right along the bottom of the black silhouette, and there was white paper. So I knew that if I was aiming at the very bottom of the paper of the silhouette, it would hit dead center. Yeah. So, and I learned, I put my arm under here and I went like this, and I would breathe. I know you can't see me on the computer, but and I just moved it back and forth, and I went back and I learned my timing, and I slowed down, and then it was like there was one, and I started controlling it again. I figured if I can't beat it, I'll control it. And my first shot, man, it came up. They pulled the target down. You know when they stick those little dickies in there with the different colored spotter? You've seen them in ranges, right?
Well, usually for me, I've had them marked. Just put
okay, well, these guys, competition will go down behind the berm. They're on this layer, and then your target comes back up, and you have these. There's a little dicky thing that if you hit it in the white, it'll be the dot will be black. But if you hit it in the white, the dot is, or if you hit it in the black, it'll be white to show you where your bullets hit, right? Well, I had 1 outside the V ring, so I hit 50 with 9 Vs. In a 4-inch circle from 100 yards away. Wow. And 7 of them were they were touching. There was only 1 spotter. And when it popped up and it fell out, and you could see daylight through it. bro. Listen. I'm talking. I don't like
That's
talking about
insane.
myself.
That's definitely like some
bro,
Robin Hood shit right there.
Yeah, what? Literally, bro. I mean, it was down the fucking same
If
hole.
you're
It was,
stacking beads on top of each other,
yeah, it was pretty bomb. So my claim was we called them black jackets. After we finished the 100 and 200, I did 50 with 9Bs, 50 with 8Bs sitting, and then we took it off the range. You know, the other teams did their first two, and then we'd come back on the range and do the 300 and 400 while we were back in the waiting area for our turn. All of a sudden, we saw some black jackets from the All Army Marksmanship team coming back up, and they were like, "Where's 409 Infantry?" And we were like, "Oh, that's us." And then I heard, "Where's Jarman?" And I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "What the fuck did I do wrong?" Well, it was the black jackets come over, like, "You ever shot before, bro?" That was, and they were telling me that I was pretty badass. So listen, this is what I ended up I just dug into the Army because it just came natural. I didn't really try. You know what I mean? I didn't really put in.
You don't have to try when you love something.
No, exactly, right?
That's why I think honest relationships. People say a lot of times it takes a lot to be in a relationship, to give and take. It's so natural. When it's natural, when you don't rush it, when you don't force it.
Yes,
it's so natural. And I think a lot of people say things are difficult. I think being in a relationship is one of the easiest things ever for me. Not because I'm good at it. Because I'm good at it. Because I suck at it. But I try a little bit harder the day before.
Well, it's because you want to be in it.
Because you want to be. When you love something, it's not a job anymore.
It's not.
It's not forced. It's natural.
And the Army came well from it. But I let my wife at the time. I got married, had kids. I mean, it was cold in Alaska. I was married in 1990. Cameron was born 91, Brittany 92, Aaron 93.
There was nothing else. I was born in 93.
Yeah,
see, that's a good year.
There was nothing.
It's the best year out there.
I know. There's nothing to do in Alaska except drink and have sex. It's cold. Yeah.
There's also
and hunt.
Freeze your balls off.
And hunt.
And hunt.
If you are an outdoorsman, there's no state in the world. There's no state, at least in the country, in our country, that's better than that for hunting and shit.
I got invited up to go up there with my buddy, and I was like, "Listen, man,
if you get
I've seen this movie, The Gray, and I'm not going. I don't give a shit." No, honestly, I would love to go to Alaska.
The summer is gorgeous.
I always miss the opportunity to go.
As a civilian in the winter, it's way better than being in the military. When you're forced to go push ass deep snow out of the way to put up a tent, that changes your perspective on being outside in the cold.
Yeah.
Listen, I saw both ends of the thermometer, thanks to Uncle Sam, because when I was in Alaska, I saw 50 below zero. When I was in Iraq, I saw 128. So when
did you get deployed?
All right,
so you're in.
I get out.
You're a dead shot
apparently. The wife was like, "I don't want to raise kids in the Army," and I'm really struggling. I'm like, I don't want to leave the Army. You know what I mean?
It's all you know of a structure and good things.
But I got out, and then I get a job at Boeing. Right, perfect. I'm from here, so we moved back here. I'm working at Boeing. I'd gotten divorced, going through that, but I'm, just spending time with my kids. And at Boeing, so I was working at the Everett site, and I said, well, I'm spending too much time on the road that could be spent with my kids. So I found a swap that, that wanted to go to Everett, and I swapped with this person, and I moved to the Renton site. And so I was closer to the kids, and I'd said the first year of my divorce, I'm not even going to look for another girl. I'm just going to spend time with the kids because it's rough on them. And at about the 9-month mark, I walked into the Boeing plant on my first day, and there stood Jessica Korlak. And it was literally love at first sight. You know what I mean? And I didn't really pursue her because I was like, this girl's way out of my league. I got 3 kids with a divorce, with child support payment. What's she going to want to do with me? Well, throughout the time I'm working down there, she started pursuing me, and it was like a really bizarre scenario in my mind that, here she was. And then as we're going, we start dating, and we get married, and all of a sudden 9/11 happens. And
an interesting day. It changed everybody's life.
Changed the world. And for an incident that happened in New York and DC and in Pennsylvania, I get laid off from Boeing. And instead of going to college, because they said they'd pay for schoolings and stuff, remember that? I don't know if you remember those times. Well, probably not. But anyway, I said, fuck that. I'm going to go re-enlist and go fight.
So when 9/11 happened, where were you?
At work.
At work.
Yeah.
You watched it on the TV?
Our airplanes, those are Boeing airplanes. They flew into the building.
Yeah.
We took that shit personally.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm down putting in wires across the top of the 737 inside. And they're like, man, check this out. Come down to the break area. Some plane flew into one of the Twin Towers in New York. We're like, what? So we go down there. We're all gathered around. We're like, damn, that don't look like no small plane. How, it's a big old hole. And then all of a sudden, bam, the one from the side, that view everybody knows of. You know what I mean? It was like, what the fuck? And then we hear the Pentagon, and then we hear the other one. It's like, yeah, this is real. This is real shit. So as time went on, we all got sent home, and then, they started laying people off, because that's what America ended up going into. It affected us. And so I got laid off, and I had a 10-year gap in service. My brothers and my family were like, what the fuck? I was 36 years old, and I re-enlisted. You can only enlist in the Army up to 35.
Oh, good. There's still time.
But
no, I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
but,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, but I was 36, that I've already done 4 years, so they deduct that off your age. So actually, in their eyes, I was 32. That makes sense.
Hey,
yeah.
Okay.
So I joined.
So how old are you now?
And they were, yeah, right, 53. But they were calling me grandpa over there.
Oh, fuckers.
Like, you know what I mean? Because kids like you call me grandpa. But I deserved it. They were 18, 20 years old.
Grandpa.
You know what I mean?
If you could shoot with us, you're our brother.
Listen, and I went over there, and it was I was with a Hawaiian unit, man. And there's some guys here I had was glad they were on my side. Chilling inside the wire on their ukuleles and chilling, listening to their, eating their spam misubi. But you get them outside the wire, and they're different people, bro. They're aggressive. And we brought all our guys home. But
that's a miracle.
But we did other things, you know what I mean? Which, I'm a very happy guy, and I did something. I just saw a side of Jason over there I didn't know existed, But you have to, right?
You definitely have to. You change to match your environment.
Yep.
Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups, and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer, so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions, or if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. So you get sent at the tender age of 19. No, you get sent over, man. At 36.
Yeah.
You're in, I would say, approximately 110 to 115 degree heat.
Yep.
Your joints feel great.
Listen, I was surprised at how good a shape I was. I mean, my body didn't start feeling shit till I got home and started getting into 40s,
Okay.
But I was, so I walk in and I meet my unit for the first time, because I re-enlisted right away, and I had to find a unit that was over there. I mean, I literally did my own legwork to go fight. And it was Jessica who said, "You're not going to be the same unless you go do it." Because I was like, man, I was a good fucking infantryman. Mm-hmm. But we had blank adapters on. I want to know that I can do this when it's real. And this is our generation. This is my turn to go do my duty.
Yeah. Because what if it was different? It was conscription or a draft.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And then you get forced to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you don't want that for your kids.
And I idolized what Pat Tillman did.
Pat Tillman is alpha.
Yeah, but I looked at myself. I can look back on it now and said, I did the same fucking thing, man. I just didn't give up $1 million football contract. I didn't have to go. I was 36 years old. I got laid off. The government was going to send me to school to retrain me for a job. And I was like, no, I need to go fight. So I went over. I just didn't get friendly fired,
I had somebody who's in his Ranger regiment. He's actually my second guest in service sacrifice. You should listen to it.
I met the guy that did it. That actually, he was the one that pulled the trigger.
Oh yeah,
the one that did. Yeah. He went through.
There's a whole lot in that story, man.
A humbling thing though, because when he came back, think about it. You were the one that's responsible for taking an American hero out.
It's really hard
built him up like that.
Hard to hear that, man.
Bro, he went through some stuff, man. Yeah. He went through, and it was a speech he'd given, because he wrote a book. Because getting through, I mean, think about it. Not just the fact in your own mind, but then how people treated him when he came back.
Oh, like the sky earth. People are emotionally charged.
He had to hide.
Yeah.
He had to go into hiding.
Well, yeah, because of death threats.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to me, and I went and I made it, man. I mean, at 15.
So were you deployed in that same area with Pat?
No. Pat was in Afghanistan. I was in Iraq.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I was over there when they caught Saddam, and I did a route clearing mission when they moved him, and they called it the shell game, right? So we said they had
I love the shell game.
3 buses.
Okay.
And the bad guy was in one of them, and it was a high profile detainee, is what they said. And we're like, you don't pull out 3 Apache helicopters and have us go out 4 Humvees deep with fucking a bunch of infantrymen, basically route clearing, making sure there's nobody attacking for just some average Joe. And
this is not Black Hawk Down, okay?
Yeah, in a bus. it was one guy in 3 tour buses, and they didn't know which one he was in, and they were all spread out. I mean, I had Apaches right here, you know, with it felt like I could reach up and touch the bottom of it because they were flying all around, and I was
Those
up in the
pilots are
lead Humvee,
insane.
and
Insane.
it was moving Saddam, so I was right there at the base right where they kept him.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was pretty. If I had to be in Iraq, I got lucky and was in a pretty good spot. It was called the Radwania Palace Complex, which was an SF Navy SEAL compound. So,
oh yeah,
it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
But we got mortared a
badass.
lot because the bad guys knew who we were.
Oh, of course, the mortars, they don't stop.
Mortaritaville.
Mortars.
Yeah, so
Mortars. Yeah, you don't get used to that to any noise that I've experienced after coming back from that.
Yeah.
Weird things happen when you hear loud noises.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you're in the craziest place in the world.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by a bunch of young bucks.
Yeah.
What were your normal duties?
So when we got put into they picked one of the platoons out of our unit to go assist and be we did the towers, we did the gates, and we did outer patrols so that the SF could concentrate on catching the big fish, is what we called it, right?
Yeah.
But they sent us out on some missions with them, and it was kind of cool, some high speed shit. But we'd get up. I mean, PT really wasn't a thing. You had to keep yourself in shape. I mean, shit, you're in combat, you're fucking better. But we ran the gates. We weren't allowed to drink, but we ran the gates, and so we had them bring in Heinekens. And we snuck them in from the Iraqis. But so we kept it calm though. I mean, we're in combat, but I mean, we got up. We did our. I liked it better when we were doing when our platoon was on patrols than I did when we were just in towers and gates. And gates, you're sitting still. I didn't like just being still. I wanted to move. I felt like I had more control of my life when I was out in patrol, which is weird because you're out in the bad guyville, but you have, 25 pissed off, infantrymen out on a patrol because it's hot as fuck. And, we had the attitude of somebody fuck with us. That was what kept us alive, I believe, because we had that attitude.
Natural contained aggression.
Absolutely.
And then I know that violence of action it always beats a normal state of pissed off.
And it was funny how, and what kept in the back of my mind, and I tried to keep telling, I was a little more mature, the young kids, when we first got over there, we didn't know what was going on. And then when you start getting into a rhythm routine, as the months go on, the problem is complacency kills.
It does, man.
You start getting used to, we went down this road yesterday, no big deal. Different. That day it is a big deal. So I would always tell the kid, and I told him, I said, you know what, statistically, more soldiers are killed in the last quarter of their deployment than they are in the whole year they're there. The last quarter is because they've gotten used to it. They're starting to think about home. Oh, okay, well, you know what?
Home and
you do stupid shit because you're just like, oh, this place is safe, and then you find out it's not. So we tried to keep ourselves acting like it was our first day over there, and we constantly talked about it, which I was pretty impressed that was our mindset of never stop assuming that you are under control over here, because you're not. Just some crazy shit, stuff that I used to regret it. I used to be like, I'm ashamed of myself that it happened. You know what I mean? But I learned over the time, you can't be, because it's a survival. I mean, I'd rather be, judged by 12 than carried by 6 is what it is. You know what I mean?
And you're able to sit here today because of what you've done, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
That's something that took me a long time to come to terms with myself.
I got into the VA system in 2009, and this is just this last year. You know what I mean? Since then I've finally dug into it and started dealing with stuff. That's how long I just tucked it away and said, no, I'm not going to talk about it.
It eats you up, dude. It eats you up.
So I talked to a guy, and you're exactly right. So we said, one of two things are going to happen. It's going to eat you up so much that you're going to do something to change it, or it's going to kill you. And that meaning you're going to kill yourself. You're going to do something to accelerate the process, because you have to open up, take the Band-Aids off, and let it process.
And it has been a serious
process,
a lengthy process for you, because it takes time. There's no book on how to deal with being told to go to a different country and lay waste to people who are trying to lay waste to you,
right?
Because of their religion, or because of their extremist views, or because they're defending their home, or they're just hearing the wrong propaganda. You never know.
And and listen, and there, I was on a mission just like they were on a mission for whatever their cause. They're a soldier. Honestly, do I disrespect them? I mean, they have a cause. They didn't believe in our cause, they're just more radical in my, you know what I mean? So they were soldiers, you know what I mean? They had a mission to do, and so just like I had a mission to do, but
At the
I
end of
was
the day,
going to
they're
make
the
sure
ops, and they gotta
I want to
go.
make sure my training was better, you know. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, but when I got back here, you know, just like many vets were like, I got this. I'm not, you know, fuck it, I'm fine. Well, it was when I went to this long-term treatment facility that was down in White City, Oregon, and I had a guy say to me, and it was so poignant, bro. He said, "Did you win any firefights in Iraq by yourself?" And I went, "Fuck you." He goes, "What makes you think you're gonna win them back here? Can't do it alone, bro." And that just sank in, bro. Let that sink in. Did you win any firefights by yourself? He said, you had to call in fire support. You had to call up your buddies from the line. Get up here online with me. We got to take. You did not win a single firefight by yourself. I was like, yep, you're right. I didn't. He goes, well, then you need your squad up here helping you too, because you're not going to get rid of it on your own. And that just sank in with me, man. I wish I could just tell every combat soldier that, because you didn't do anything over there by yourself. You can't do it back here by yourself either.
That's a fact.
Right?
That's a fact. And that can be said. I know a lot of times
it doesn't matter the branch.
A lot of time a lot of time
you were on a ship. Those airplanes, those cool ass Top Gun fighter pilots.
I fucking hate them.
I know that, but they weren't doing their cool ass fucking job unless you were putting that fucking. But you weren't filling up their fuel. You were putting the bombs on there. Yeah. It's the team. It's a total team effort.
If I could like honestly say the only thing that really bothered me is times where I was doing my my warfare specialist stuff and learning about other people's jobs.
Yeah.
And I was observing drone footage as we were taking part in joint operations, and I was watching kids playing soccer get blown to pieces hard, with the bombs that I just brought on. Right, that was a little irritating.
Yep.
Honestly, like it still bothers me to this day. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like we're all just pieces of this fucking puzzle, and this puzzle doesn't need to look pretty.
And
but at the end of the day, we're there.
I'm going to go home not with a flag draped over me.
Yeah,
I'm not going home that way.
Yeah, I'm not super happy that the kids are dead.
No,
I don't know what happened. It could have been a mistake. There's so many mistakes, and especially during the Obama administration, dropping bombs over there, doing a lot of drone strikes and shit. There were so many mistakes. We killed so many kids by accident. Yeah. And there's no of course they're gonna. It really hit me hard when I was watching Lone Survivor, where I think it was Axe. He said, "Look at the man. They fucking hate us."
Yeah.
That is that pain in his voice when he says that it hits different, because like going out of town to the Middle East in the safe spots, you got a lot of looks. They tried to kidnap us.
Bro.
People tried to kidnap us. They tried to attack us, and it was like it was a normal thing because you're out in town, and I don't think there's anybody who could have said it better. You're absolutely right. You don't survive issues over there alone. I didn't survive my dad dying while I was deployed alone. No, I had amazing. Man. I had 2,000 something people who knew my name, and I know all their names. Like I could see their face. I can remember them like they're yesterday.
Yeah.
All of them went out of their way to make sure I was okay, from the fucking officers on down.
Yeah, and it's when we start accepting, the help that, and realizing and looking in the mirror and going, yeah, I can't do this alone. Because we're taught, to be tough and to be strong and not to be vulnerable and not to be, transparent about things. Weak. You know what I mean? Not to be weak, but it's not a weakness. I've learned this over the last couple of years, that it's not a weakness by going, hey man, I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That's the smart one.
It's not.
Because I look at my life right now, and had I not started doing that, I'd still be this drunk, probably dead. You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, I was trying.
I get messages all the time from people. I just got a message from the other day from my buddy in Spain, and he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, you got time to chat?" And I called him on FaceTime, and he asked, I think he answered by accident, but he said, "Oh, I didn't know you were gonna call me." And I said, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, why you call? Why? Yeah, you reached out for something,
and we talked it out, and
good for you. I'm glad you responded.
Ultimately, like he's going through a shitty VA system right now. He's having some difficulties. They got him on the wrong meds. He's struggling with alcoholism himself.
Yep.
Well, not like raging alcoholic, but he's struggling because his meds are off. He's having horrible conditions that are messing with him. He got a sickness, a disease.
Yeah.
And they're not helping him process out of the Navy. I hope they do. He deserves to have a medical retirement. These kids fucked up.
Yeah, that's where I get. That's where I struggle with when I hear other veterans struggling with the VA, because I've had luck, but I've also put in work. I'm a firm believer, and I try to pass on as much as I can. help the VA help you. The VA can't do everything for you because the VA, there's one VA hospital
It's
for
just
all
an
of us
entity,
veterans.
and it's just an entity.
Yes,
you
man.
can't blame every doctor and just say the whole fucking.
And look, there's gonna, and anywhere you go, there's people that work at the VA that are just there for a paycheck and don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
but they are few and far between. The majority of the people that work there really do want to help us, but they're overloaded.
Yeah.
So you have to do some legwork to help them help you. You know, I mean, we're jumping ahead in the story, but that's where really it comes down to. Okay. Veterans are a hard group to
work
deal with, man.
Disgruntled
we're not easy,
veterans.
Bro. We're not
disgruntled
easy.
veterans.
Yes,
people always
bro.
ask me. I've been told that I have
not the easiest.
resting bitch face. Or whatever
yes.
And I said, yeah, you know what? I'm disgusted with a lot of shit.
Yes, they issue us that in the military. The resting bitch face.
Yeah, I'm disgusted with a lot of things.
That's Army issue.
It's hard, and you know what? Which leads to like coming back home. It's hard to come back home and see sick, weak motherfuckers surrounding your family like a pack of hyenas. Bro, it's hard to see it.
It's easier to adapt into combat than it is to come back home to a life that you lived your whole fucking life. I easily adapted into, because you have to for survival. Your brain does that. You're into survival and you start adapting to shit over there and your brain puts it into that mode. But I always said, when I came home from Iraq, my body was in America, but my brain was still over there for about a month after.
At least.
Because when you're peaked adrenaline 24/7, 365, you can't just turn that off when you get off the 747 when you land in Dallas. You know what I mean?
I didn't get calm until I would say I couldn't even breathe normally.
I didn't drive a car for a month.
Well, I did end up driving a car. Big mistake. I ended up operating a GPS, Google Maps. I had a meltdown.
Yeah.
Operating Google Maps.
Yeah.
While someone else was driving.
Yeah, I would have ended up in the sunroof with a fucking weapon, like I was up in the turret. If you know what I mean, up on I-5, and that highly gets that gets frowned upon.
I wasn't ready for people looking at me.
Road rage was really
people
bad
looking at me at all.
Yeah, road rage.
It was uncomfortable. I felt dirty in my skin. Yeah. People looking at me. There's like looking at me like it was a normal thing, right? People watching.
Yep.
We didn't have people watch. We knew exactly who we all were.
Yeah.
So like, I get angry. I feel aggressive. I feel like I'm being targeted.
That was one of the things I had a hard time dealing with because I was never an angry guy. I'm the jokester. I want to have fun. I would drink with the buddies, and I was like, no, let's not fight. Let's have fun. You know, and I was that guy. You know what I mean? That's always fun. But I found a side of Jason over there that I brought home with me that I didn't like.
And what was that?
Anger. An angry guy that just
Rage.
didn't. Yeah, that would snap just like that. It's still there. Unfortunately, it still happens, but I have learned to control it a little better. I'm learning. But I haven't learned. Let's continue to learn, you know?
Well, after you use violence in any capacity, it's hard to put that away because as natural as human beings, we used to run 40 miles a day, hunt cheetahs and shit, right?
Yep.
Stop willing mammoths, you know?
When we were driving in downtown Baghdad, man, if you don't get out of the way, if you don't pull out of the way when the Humvees are driving, you get one warning shot. We'll give you a warning shot. That's because we're nice. You don't move. The next one's coming to you.
Yeah, because you
can't do that on I-5.
Yeah, you can't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't do that.
And that's hard to do at home when you come home, and all of a sudden people are fucking cutting you off, and you're like, "Oh, you'd have been shot."
It's really goes through your stressful.
And also, garbage on the side of the road really fucked me up, dude. Because that's where they hid roadside bombs. And listen, their roads are just lined with garbage, and
like Disneyland.
Yeah, bro, it's horrible. And so I would see a garbage bag, and I still kind of jerk the car and swerve and everything, and that took a long time.
What do you do now for when you're driving? Deep breathing exercises?
Oh yeah, bro. I got into meditations, mindful meditation, like in the moment. You know what I mean? That stop thing. You know, I still it's work in progress, bro. You know what I mean? It will be for the rest of my life. You know, you can't
I've smashed out two of my car's heating vents.
Yeah, you get it, right?
I've got. If my steering wheels could talk, they would have nice things to say about me, man. It's difficult.
And you and I can talk and we giggle, but other people on the outside, they're like, "Well, you're
fucking crazy." That's why a lot of politicians and a lot of cops too. I don't know why the cops do it because it's kind of stupid of them. A lot of down in Thurston County, there was an officer that said veterans armed outside of the military we're all dysfunctional, messed up, PTSD, rid of crazy people, and that's not the case. A lot of officers don't get training. Outside of their active work schedule, they don't even allot time for training because their leaders have poor leadership, and that training time is also decompressing.
Right,
it's super decompressing. It teaches you how to deal with stressful situations.
Yeah.
So a lot of these cops are walking around with PTSD, and high stress, anxiety, and they don't have a time to offload. A lot of them are going to have heart issues because
they go home like they're like Boeing employees. They go home for their their 10 or 12 hours off duty, and then they're going back to work like a Boeing person would, but their work is civilian combat. I mean, they're going out on patrol like I did in Iraq. I mean, and
a lot of times they are acting like it's an insurgency.
Bro, I feel for the cops because it's just a few racist fuckers that gave all the cops a bad name and really made
now they're getting dropped.
And it sucks. I feel bad for the good ones because they are out there. There's good cops. There's a lot more of them than there are the bad ones for sure. But King 5 News won't report on those guys.
I don't think it's a good selling point because negative news always travels faster. Than
negative news sells. So as we say in
breaking news, everything's breaking, dude.
And
I wonder who's gonna fix it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Everything's fucking broken.
It's not. They're not gonna fix it because they'd stop selling newspapers. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Man. So I really have a difficult time understanding why anybody would say what another person is a blanket statement. I'm like, it's not for me. It's not for me. We're all different. And I have these interactions with officers. I ask questions. I genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
Hey, what has your leadership done to help you offload? And they're like, what? I don't need to offload. I said, yes, the fuck you do.
You do. Yeah, you do.
So I said, how many officer involved shootings have you been in? And they're like, and then the look falls over them. They get reminded of that time where they were in peril and they made a decision. And they might not agree with what decision they made. That guilt sits in.
That's what I struggled with. Decision that I made, and I did it in the snap judgment of combat, and I looked back on it because I mean I shot a kid.
Yeah, you look past that's my. I was hoping that you were comfortable talking about stuff like this because there's something I want to bring in perspective for you, right? There's so many people who have that same exact story.
Yeah,
same exact story.
Yeah,
and there's movies about it.
Yep.
Shia LaBeouf has a movie about it.
It happens, man. I mean, I get it.
Miles Teller was in a movie about it too.
Yeah, but it takes therapy. And listen, at least the stigma is being broken slowly here in America, and in the civilian world, and in the veteran world. Mental health. It isn't just shell shock. It isn't just suck it up and drive on anymore. It's like, yeah, we get it, bro. You did some pretty shitty stuff over there, and you had to do some stuff to survive.
Forgive yourself.
Listen, and the worst question you always get when you come back is,
did you ever kill anybody?
Okay, right. And the thing is, I'm like, go watch a movie. You know what I mean? If that's what you want.
Because if you want to watch murder porn, go ahead.
I don't care. If the guy was shooting at me, he deserved to die because he shot at me first. That's what I always say. You don't want to die, don't shoot at me, and then I won't shoot at you. You one bullet flies past me, it's on. You know what I mean? And that's when that marksmanship training went into work. You know what I mean? You were getting one shot at me, and that's it because I'm taking you out.
Yeah, you have to shoot to stop the threat.
But then when you go back to your bed after the first time it happened with me, I was awake all night because my mind started playing tricks. I was like, that was somebody's son. That was somebody's dad.
Pop somebody's cherry and that thing. Your brain starts spiraling.
Fucked me up, right?
I'm sorry,
there's nothing. There's nothing glorifying about it. That's why when people ask that, you get a lot of veterans going, it's a lot of frustration. It is. And so,
like if I ask a friend if they've ever harmed anybody, I said, are you okay with everything you did over there? Or you want to chat about anything, dude? Are you good?
That's a great way to put it. Dude.
Yeah.
Are you
extend that olive branch?
Anything?
Is that what they say? Is that what they say? Keep the Kardashians extending that olive branch.
Yeah.
Let the bird fly onto it.
Right.
It's not easy to ask somebody who's like. I have a friend, and this is like one of the most impactful things that ever been said in my entire life as far as violence goes. He walked into him and his little group. I don't know the Army's groups. So him and his squad platoon, right?
Squad, yeah.
Like 10 people or whatever, right?
Well, squad's like 12, 8 to 12, something like that.
So 8 to 12, right? Yep. So his squad then traveled into a village with their and there was no adults there, and it was the Taliban had put just kids with AKs.
Oh shit!
And he
obviously kids know where the trigger is.
Yeah, kids surprisingly, if you arm children and you give them horrible ideology that tells them to kill the white person, whoever showed up, so the kids obviously start shooting.
Yeah.
And my friend's like explained this to me, and he's in a robot state, and the trauma talk, right? It all sets in. He's getting shot at by these kids, and they waste him, of course, right? Because you have to make a decision. Are you going to go home?
You get shot at. That's it. Hey, come on, kids, put it down.
No, he had his kids at home too.
Yeah.
So he couldn't walk into his fucking house when he got home. So he was having like emotional breakdowns, like fits of like.
Yeah.
You see the movie Black Hawk Down where he goes deaf and he goes,
yeah.
That's how he described how he was acting.
Right.
He had to like sleep outside.
Yeah.
He couldn't even like
I
You
would
couldn't
have
even smell his
dreams.
kids' blankets.
Yeah, I
He
would
had to
have
like stay with
dreams
the
when
kids, man.
I would walk up. I dream and I'd walk up on the kid that I shot, and it would be my son's face
Mm.
on there. You know what I mean? And I,
That's hard.
Yeah, bro. Isn't that fucked up how your brain does that? I
Yeah.
hate it.
It's like,
You know
what did you do to your
like,
brain?
dude, why?
You didn't mean, you
Why?
didn't, like,
What did I do to you?
you asshole, right?
You know. But when I came back, I didn't let the VA help me.
Mm.
You know, I first off, when I was discharged, I didn't. I didn't even know. Did you walk in there and go, "Hey, I need help"? You know, what I mean, who could I talk to? At that time, I'm just reintegrating back into society, and it wasn't on my list. You know what I mean? But then I started looking. What started is I wanted that adrenaline back.
Oh,
I'm Captain ADD, bro.
Yeah.
I want that adrenaline. I'm a hyper dude, and there's nothing on this world. There's no drug. There's no carnival ride. There's no nothing in comparison to when a bullet flies over your head.
Yeah.
And it's on like Donkey Kong, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come back, America's boring.
Yeah.
America's boring, bro.
I don't like America very
and
much.
so
Sometimes
you get back here and your body, you're subconsciously what starts wanting that thing back. I mean, that you'll ask a lot of them. That's why a lot of them have gone to cocaine. They'll buy fast motorcycles or cars because they want that adrenaline back. They want to find that just for a minute.
Swerve 90.
It's like a drug. You want that adrenaline, you know. And so that's what it started for me. And then I ended up, doing drugs and got into that, and it, I let it take over my life, and I didn't let the VA help me until this one counselor. I went and I heard they ended up having a methadone program at the VA, and I went down there, and her name was Carolyn. And I still talk to her today. She's still my counselor today from 2009. She cares a lot more about my sobriety than I ever did. You know what I mean? She's amazing. She's an amazing person. But it was when I finally, was like, all right, I need some help, And dude, this is 2009, and I'm just now in a place where I,
can talk about this.
Yeah, and so that's a long time. And like I said, that's what happens with a lot of us. We just hold it in, and we don't deal with it,
And that hurts. It hurts to hear because
it eats you, and it sucks that the podcast that I was on, that's when we were talking about. We're like, we've got to get the word out there that it's okay to get out here and do what you and I are doing right now. To sit out there and talk to people and let them know that, you know what, I did some fucked up shit, and I ended up having to humble myself and go, man, I can't do this alone, and I need help. Because what it's done for me is giving me my life back, literally giving me my life back, and because in the meantime, after combat, I ended up losing 2 older brothers and my wife as well, and I went into a dark fucking place, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, I saw it. I think the last time I saw you before today.
Yeah, pretty bad place, man.
I knew you were going off the deep end. And I didn't know what to say, man. I didn't have the words.
I get it.
To tell you, hey, I
wouldn't have heard him anyway.
I would like probably maybe like thinking back, like ask you to sequester yourself and come like you and me can go and find some of my friends, and we can start isolating you from whatever the fuck you're going through.
Yeah. But at that time I wouldn't have heard anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't I wasn't willing to accept it.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't there.
I remember getting up to talk about at the funeral talking it was difficult to look anywhere near you.
Yeah.
Because I knew that if I looked at you and you did something to hurt yourself past there, it would have crushed me. And it was already crushing me. I was worried about it. I didn't know. You don't have the tools to say it to your friend.
No,
like, hey bro, can you do me a favor?
Hey, I'm worried you might kill yourself.
Not kill yourself.
Yeah, exactly,
tomorrow.
right?
I appreciate it. Like
when in reality,
it's not like a normal thing to say.
I know you're thinking it, you know what I mean? But how do you say that, right? And
it took me a while to learn how to say that.
Yeah.
And tact is important.
Yeah.
You say the wrong word, a lot of conversations I have with people after they hear my podcast and hit me up. I can spend 6 hours talking on the phone, muting it when I go pee, shoving a top ramen down my face because I don't have time to eat normal food because I'm talking to this kid.
Yeah.
And he still does it. The next day I find out he's dead. And that's where it really hits.
I just took my nephew, my brother had passed too. So his son, Ryan, I took him to the Roger Waters concert, Pink Floyd. And we were sitting there having our pre-concert festivities. I don't drink anymore, but he's having a few drinks and we're having a good time. And he said, Jason, he said, he goes, I've always told other people, and he said, the things you went through, most people wouldn't have survived. And he goes, you need to remind yourself how strong you are.
Yeah.
And that's where I was, I started looking back and I was like, remember I told you, we're weak when we ask for help. We're vulnerable when we ask for help. Well, you know what? I had a counselor down in Oregon say the word vulnerable and courage go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because to be vulnerable takes courage, but to be courageous, like a courageous soldier or something like that, you have to put yourself in a vulnerable situation to be courageous. That's so they really are hand in hand, and that's sunk in as well. And I started realizing, you know what, I'm a lot stronger than I used to give myself credit for it. And this is why I've decided to dedicate my life to peer support, because peer support, I mean, when you're sitting across from a veteran, you and I mean, Jill right here next to me, my girl, I'm talking to you like I've never talked to her. And she's probably listening, and she's probably learning some stuff about me that she's never, maybe knew a little bit, but never saw me open up, because when you're talking to another vet that understands, it's different. If I'm a veteran and I'm in a homeless shelter, or if I'm in a homeless shelter or a tent city, and a cop walks in or a person in a suit walks in, man, I'm zipping my tent up. I ain't talking to nobody. But if I look out and I got a guy that says Iraqi freedom veteran, and he's over there and he's got a beard, he's like, hey, brother, I'm going to be like, what's up, man? What? More tendencies to listen, at least to start. Then you get them into those educated, psychologists that really need to help you get into your head. And that's where it starts. But peer support is a big thing.
Peer support definitely is, man. I totally agree, brother.
Yep.
So you mentioned peer support. I know that peer support is something that's super important for me. It's a lot of that is a reason why I started doing this. Just having conversations with people.
This is exactly why. Yeah. Perfect.
Removing, and you said it best, like destigmatizing, talking through trauma, removing those walls we put up as men and as women.
Yeah.
And let somebody else know that they're not alone in the situation. And using your voice is so powerful. I can sit here and say, hey, you know what? If you don't like how I feel, fuck you.
Yeah.
And people are going to be like, wow, he's an asshole. Instead of saying negative things like that, we can also say that, hey, if you're listening, you're not the only one who's gone through shit.
Right.
And please do reach out. Find a reason to stay here in this earth.
Yeah.
Fuck, I tell people all the time, hit me up.
Because it's just a moment.
Yeah.
It's just a moment in your life right there. And if you excuse me, if you wait long enough, that's going to pass. You know what I mean? Just get through this moment, reach out to somebody, get distracted, get your mind focused on something else. And that's what ends up needing to happen before you end up, isolation is the worst. The worst, man.
Yeah. I've done it. I've isolated myself for.
Oh, I'm a very outgoing person. I'm, extrovert times two, and if I'm not answering the phone, or if I'm not, responding to something, then you better check and find out why. Yeah. Either my phone's dead or I'm not good, Yeah. And that's where this group that I'm wearing my shirt, MVP,
Mike, Vinny, Polly,
yeah,
Jersey
right?
Shore.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
So merging vets and players.
Merging vets and players. So the story is I get 3 DUIs in 4 months, man.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah. Never been in trouble with the law until that. Got 3, and I was trying to do something, just drive. I was driving. I got my midlife crisis car. I had a little Mazda Miata MX-6 turbo.
Oh, yeah.
Had the top down, and I put it into the ditch, getting off the exit to go to her house. It was definitely over 70 miles an hour. And why I'm still alive, I stopped asking why and just accepted the fact that I am. But there's a thing called the vet court. And the vet court is an amazing thing where it helps veterans, instead of just throwing them into a jail cell and locking them up, and they allow them to get the treatment they needed. So instead of getting locked up, because listen, 3 DUIs in 4 months, I should have had my license taken away for life. I should have been in jail for a year, never driving again. But now I was able to go down.
Your colors.
I was able to go down to Southern Oregon, and I went into a 4-month treatment down there, and then transferred right to American Lake here in Tacoma. And went into their intensive PTSD treatment center. And then that was my jail time, you could say. And all it is I go to court once a month and I see the judge, and it's an encouraging thing. It's really weird, man. It's, even the prosecution is like, hey, we're happy to say that Jason's in compliance. Mr. Jarman's in compliance. You're looking really good, Mr. Jarman. I mean, it's not your normal court, but it's still court. Now, if I fuck up, I have stuff holding over my head. But if I complete the 2 years, I get 2 of my DUIs are now reckless driving. So I have 1 DUI and 2 reckless drivings. And I did 30 days, and that was it. And that's what I've been punished with by the courts. But I
always tell people, hey man, you're too pretty for jail, man.
Right? Listen, and I don't do lockup very well. I need to talk to people. I can't do lockup. So it got my attention. Plus, I was able to go. They allowed me to go to the treatment, and I was like, I may as well take advantage of this and start digging in. And I did, bro. And so anyway, moving forward, I come back home and I get my own apartment. Jill and I had already met, you know what I mean? And so we're moving in together, and it's a funny story, dude. The guys in the group love it. I thought I'd lost the keys to her car, and and we're just moving in, so there's boxes everywhere, right? I'm thinking, man, it fell off the counter, probably into one of our garbage bags.
No.
And listen, so I'm in the dumpster of our apartment, literally in the dumpster, digging through bags, right? And this guy comes out. I'm hopping out of there. He goes, "Hey, man, were you in the Army?" And I was like, "I was wearing my infantry hat." I was like, "Yeah, I was, Iraq." And he goes, "You ever heard of MVP?" And I'm like, "Well, I've heard of MVP. I mean, because I'm a football fan. It was Jay Glazer, the guy in Fox Morning Show, started it." And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Well, we have a chapter here in Renton. We meet Thursday night. You should come check it out." So he gave me the info. I missed the first Thursday because I was doing stuff moving in. But the next Thursday I went down, and now the story is the MVP literally pulled me out of the dumpster. You know what I mean? But quite literally pulled me out of the dumpster. So I get down there, and this group.
Did he find your keys for you too?
Yeah, I did. You know where my keys were? They were in my pajama pockets, right where I left them.
Oh.
So from the night before, yeah.
Okay.
That's right, exactly.
Guys hate losing shit.
Come on, man. How many times you walked around looking for your sunglasses that are on your head?
Never.
Always.
I've never.
I'm that guy.
I'm a freaker outer when I have things missing.
Yeah.
There's no easy way to get me spun up than to go. If you walk in my house and then you move like 4 things from where I put shit exact same spot, so I never lose anything.
Yeah.
If you move 4 things, I will have like a fucking meltdown.
Yeah. I know what you mean. All right,
and my wife loves
the
to
picture.
do it
all you got to do is cant it, and I'm going to know that you touched it.
Oh yeah. Rhiannon will always tell me, "Honey, it's right where you left it. Like you didn't move anything."
Yeah.
And then I'll think that if she's smiling when she says it, I think she fucked with it.
Yeah.
And then I'll forget where I originally put it, and my brain just blocks out where I left everything. And so I freak out.
Well, he was blaming me.
Yeah, I was like, "Are you sure you forget where? Are you sure?" That kind of stuff. And she's like, "Jace, I don't know what you did with it." And I was like, I don't know what I did with you. Well, then I get up the next morning, I go to put on my pajamas, and I hear ching ching, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck." But it's a funny story now, So anyway, I go down, I meet these guys, and the story of MVP is Nate Boyer, Green Beret, ex-Seahawks long snapper. Okay. And then Jay Glazer, who's on the Fox Morning Football Show, friends with Michael Strahan. They found that combat soldiers and professional athletes, that was easy for me to say, struggle with similar struggles when you take your uniforms off.
Oh yeah.
You lose your camaraderie, you lose your identity, and all that kind of stuff, and have a hard time integrating back into
a lot of times these athletes been doing this shit since they were kids.
No different. Now, a combat field and a football field, 2 different things. You know what I mean? Because of bullets and everything. But you still,
but it is a very healthy comparison.
Yeah, it is. So, and so anyway, we get together on Thursday. We start at 7 p.m. and we have a half-hour little workout, get our sweat on, and then we go into we call it the huddle. It's an hour-long huddle. We share our wins, we share our struggles. We're vulnerable. We can talk about things, like I said here, that I normally wouldn't talk about because I feel like no one's going to look at me and go, "Man, you're twisted." Well, guess what? We are twisted.
There's a lot of people that are twisted.
But I have brothers and sisters around me that understand the terminology, that understand the words, the lingo and stuff, and I feel more comfortable with them. So that's where I really started learning peer support. And then one time I had a small little relapse. These dudes were blowing my phone up and pounding on my door. They were not going to let me fall to the wayside. And that was really the moment I realized this is how you save, veterans. This is what works. I've been through a lot of groups with the VA. I've been, like I told you, the addiction treatment center since 2009. I've been going in and out of there, you know what I mean? I'm getting the help I need. Been a lot of groups, been through, treatments and everything. But this
nothing clicked
right
necessarily.
Nothing clicked until I had guys who understood me sitting next to me going, "Yeah, we get it. What can I do to help you?" And that's what we always say, "Hey, I need help with this." Then tell us what we can do so we can do it. And that's what this group has done for me. And so, and now, I mean, the stressing of peer support, I believe this is how, this is how you can get, because I mean, you'll get some vets that are, homeless or whatever, and they had a bad experience one time with the VA. Now they have the whole fuck the VA attitude. And my mission, I want it to be, is just give it one more chance. Let me help you though. Let me tell you, because I've had pretty good success, and I've opened up the right doors. And I'm like, so let me at least show you. It may not be perfect, but I know you had a bad experience. Give me one more chance. Give the VA one more chance, because they are trying. It's not a perfect system. There is no such thing, but they are trying. And all we need to do is say, "Look, bro, just give it one more chance, and let me help you. Let me show you what door you need to open up." And I believe that, we can get guys, once we start talking about this, when you get those tough guys, guys, I've been in combat, we've been there, but I'm sitting here saying, "You know what? I needed help. I needed somebody to talk to, and I needed someone to vent to." And once we realize and get it out there to these guys and girls, and they start realizing that You're not weak when you ask for help, and you're not, you need to actually get it off your chest. And the best person to say it to is someone who's been there with empathy. You can't teach empathy and passion. You know what I mean? You can teach all the book stuff about being a psychiatrist and a psychologist, all that stuff, but you can't teach the empathy, man. You and I know the lingo. You and I know what we've been through. Where yes, the counselor who's been with the VA for a long time talks to a lot of vets, but to get that vet in that room with that counselor might need another vet to guide him in there.
Yeah.
So he feels a little more confident and he feels a little more comfortable talking to that person, and then sitting in a group of veterans talking too.
Yeah, you got to better your firing position. You can't have one-man firing teams. They don't always work out so well.
Absolutely.
Singleton is not something that's so great for clearing houses.
Yeah, and I found with this MVP group, they just it's just a different animal, man. It's hard to describe. Just the fact that all of those guys are there for the right reason. You know what I mean? And listen, it's not a one size fit all. You know, I mean, I tell veterans, hey, we have a Zoom capability. We also have a personal person, come in person, but try it out one time. Maybe it's not for you, but I bet you're going to find out that the group of guys that you end up being around that, that are, that it's going to help you with some way or another. So peer support is a big thing. And I think the veterans or the VA is starting to recognize, that peer support is a need, and they are hiring them now. And
that's good.
Yeah.
You should hire. Like it's so stupid that people come to the VA, right? Just for example, VA, Veterans Affairs, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you want some help from the veterans to make it work? Like it's a pretty easy thing.
Yeah, and I know they have veterans working there, but they're not the veterans that you don't have to pay me a lot of money, man. But I'm the guy that'll go out. I don't mind going into that tent city.
Yeah,
because I've been in one as the guy inside the tent. So I know what to say. I know what you're going through. Maybe not completely, but I have. You
have a foundation,
and I understand. Where you're at. Where I might be able to at least guide you in the right direction. And listen, there are some people out there that don't want the help.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
There is.
I've seen them.
They just don't want it, and I get it. And you can't say, but some of them just need a second chance to go, hey, you know what? I know you tried and they failed you, but you might have just ran into the wrong person. So let's try again,
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I think that's a lot of it. A lot of the guys with the VA, they just had one bad experience and they're like, yeah, see, the VA sucks. No, just that person you talk to sucked, not the whole VA.
I agree.
So
is that go back to that blanket statement thing?
Yeah. You can't judge everything off of one little thing. You know what I mean? So, but the stigma of being weak to talk about what you've gone through and what you need help with has got to go away. You know what I mean? And you're not weak by asking for help. It takes somebody very courageous to say, look, I can't do this alone. And just keep in mind, I won no firefights by myself while I've been over in Iraq. Not a single one.
Yeah.
Every time I went on a patrol, I had, 19 other dudes out there with me, locked and loaded. And I felt very secure and knowing I had people that had my back. We end every huddle with, I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back. Who's got my back? I got your back. MVP on 3. It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
To just reiterate that we have each other's back. And it's quite a group.
There's a lot of power in people coming together and
finding a lot of power about and talking it out too. We have huddles that are fun. We have huddles that there's guys crying. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You got to purge that shit out, man.
Yeah. So when do you guys meet?
And we all every Thursday.
Yeah,
and I'll give you the link. I want you to zoom in.
Here we go.
Now I'm gonna see now.
Is it in person?
Huh?
Is it in person thing?
We have in person and we have Zoom.
Do you go to the in person one?
Of course. I live literally right up the hill.
Okay.
I'm 3 miles from the gym.
Okay.
So
and it's in the evening.
Thursdays at 7:00.
Okay.
The first half hour is the workout. The last hour is the huddle.
One day, I think one day I'm gonna try. I'm gonna write it down.
Yes,
so one day I'm gonna try. I have school on Thursdays, and it's during that time.
Okay.
But you know what? Maybe I can sneak out early one day.
Time,
I'll just floor it over to you.
Even if you can just come in the last half hour, we'll let you in and check it out, man. Just
sweet.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I can get down with that. Yeah. It's important for me to have resources directly.
Listen,
I don't have the answers.
Honestly, and even if it's not, but now you know what it's like. So if you run into a vet, go, hey man, you know what? I attended this one group that might work for you.
Exactly.
Because listen, what is the best thing? Listen, all veterans find out more information about the VA from other veterans, and we have more references from other veterans than we do actually from the VA hospital itself or from anything. We find out more from each other than going to a briefing when you get out of the Army. Go over here and sign up, call this number and everything.
It's
I
so
didn't know.
confusing, dude.
I didn't know
I'm looking
anything
at
about
multiple ways to file for a disability. I'm still confused. I'm dyslexic as fuck. It's no secret.
Yeah.
So for me, this whole process is just like, you need this form and this. I'm like,
Yep.
oh my God, my head is overwhelmed.
Yeah. I didn't know that King County Vets existed. This is not even run by the VA organization, by Veteran Affairs. It's a King County Vet. It's run by the county that helps with housing. And there's so many other organizations out there that help veterans that you don't know about, that the VA doesn't even tell you about, and you don't learn about them until you talk to other veterans who learn. So you coming into the MVP group, I wouldn't have known about MVP had I would not crawled out of the dumpster. So it takes another veteran to teach us, you know what I mean? And that's what, again, back to the peer support. We do more for each other than anyone else can ever do, and it goes back to, you didn't win any firefights by yourself.
Yeah.
So let other veterans talk to you, talk to other veterans. Don't be afraid. If I had one message through this whole conversation, do not be afraid to reach out for help. Don't feel silly. Don't feel weak. Don't feel like you're, don't feel like you're weak, man. Don't feel anything. Don't feel any shame. Just be vulnerable and say, look, I'm struggling right now and I don't know what to do, because that's okay.
And 100%.
Because I tell you right now, you can't find anybody that's never been in that point of their life. And they don't even have to be veteran. There's times in your life where you're like, I'm struggling right now and I really don't know what to do.
I completely agree, dude. And there's nothing weak about it.
There's not.
You know what? Like people talk about, I'll use weak as an example to show somebody, symbolize what strength is. But a lot of times when we talk about opening up, talk about your problems, there's nothing weak about that. There's weak about bitching about having to do normal tasks. Yes, that's weak as fuck. Do your job, right? But it is very, very weak to say, you shouldn't talk about your feelings because that's fucking for pussies or whatever.
Right.
Pussies, right? That's the most foul shit. You know what? Like true weakness. I've experienced true weakness. True weakness was my hands trembling and coming falling apart as I'm cleaning up my buddy's apartment after he committed suicide. That's fucking weakness. And that's sad. Nobody needs to feel that.
That's a scene that no one should have seen. I mean, the word homeless vet, those two words just drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And there's ways out of everything if you just ask for the help, because there's people that want to help us.
There is. And it's not for me. I can help myself. I'm able to do that. A lot of people can't.
Yeah, they don't come knocking on your door and go, hey, look what we have available for you. Mm-hmm. They do not. They'll point you at the big white concrete building, in Beacon Hill and say your answers are in there. That's all they'll do. So you might need somebody who's been through those doors and knows their way around all the floors to kind of help guide. And that's what the peer support does.
I like that.
All I want to do is I just want to reach out and I just want to show them that, look, I was pretty fucked up, man. And it took a couple other vets to help stand me up, brush off the dirt and say, look, I'll help you. And then it guided me through those doors. And now I just want to give right back and show other veterans that, you know what, there's a way out. Well, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming back at you.
Yeah, it's not. It definitely isn't.
Yeah.
And that's a super powerful and positive message, man. I really do appreciate you sharing that. It's important. Absolutely. It's important for people to have these conversations.
Yeah.
If we'd have this, like, even if I turn this fucking microphones off, we'd have the same exact conversation.
Absolutely. The one thing I wanted to bring up was, so I had one guy tell me, I was in my last podcast, and I think it's a great idea. You've heard of the 22 a day.
Oh yeah.
The 22 veteran suicides. He goes, what if we change it? It doesn't have to be every day. What if it's you reach out to 22 people, maybe in a week, just a text. Hey, I thought about you. Because sometimes what if that text gets to that person and he's in a mindset where he's not having a great day, but all of a sudden he found out, oh, Jason just said, hey, how you doing? They're just checking in on me. That might change their thought flow. You know what I mean? So instead of, the 22 a day veteran suicide, why don't we reach out to 22 a week and just say hi? Hey, what's up, bro? Haven't heard from you.
Wow.
That's pretty fucking cool,
right? That's
a
thought. Yeah.
Just reach out.
That's a thought.
Just reach out, man. During a week, 7 days, that's what, 3 a day. That's 21, right? 3 people a day. You just go, hey man, what's up? And just text them.
I might do that tonight. You know what? I think I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna do it tonight. Right? Tonight I'm messaging 22 people.
A week. Let's turn 22 a day. Let's kill that by reaching out 22 a week. And you reach out 22 people a week just to say hi and just say, look, I was thinking about you, man. And because sometimes that's all it takes, man. You just realize somebody cares about you. That's one of the things that really the MVP did for me, is I realized, motherfucker, they give a shit about me. You know, they care about my well-being. That's powerful. The people, I mean, that I've only known less than a year, want to make sure that I'm there the next week. They care about me enough.
I like that.
That's a big thing. So yeah, I'm really going to press that with my group, and that really stuck with me. I'm just going to. We have our technology. We can reach millions of people. I can reach out to people in London. How you doing today? You know what I mean? So we don't have an excuse to say we can't. Just reach out and just say, what's up, man?
I like that.
You'd be amazed, right?
Yeah, I've been doing that on a small scale, but not with the intent.
Yeah.
And the intent is what's so important.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm gonna do that with intent from now on. 22 people.
22 a week, instead of, we can stop the 22 a day if we reach out to 22 a week and just say hi.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's going down.
There you go.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm so glad I came up and got to see you again. And now, you know, we've gotten back in touch, and my life is in, you know, it's not a shambles anymore.
Let's go shoot guns.
So yes, let's go shoot guns.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
You're damn right.
Oh yes, I was waiting for that.
I like what you're doing here, Eddie. I like you're trying to reach out and just show people you're ending stigma a lot, just not for veterans. I've heard to listen to a couple of your other podcasts. You know, you're reaching out. The stigma of mental health has got to go away. All wounds are not visible.
None. Like most aren't. Yeah.
And I struggled with that one because they're talking about disability with the VA. Well, I had all my feet and I had all my legs. I got my arms and, you know, but guess what? You know, like my wife said, you know, before she passed, she was like, you're not the one waking up in the middle of the night watching you scream and yell and dive under the bed, you know, crazy shit, you know. So the wounds, some wounds can't be seen, you know. So
I always tell people who've gone through shit like that, when they call it crazy, so you're not what's crazy. The shit you've had to go through is crazy.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
But the shit you
you're
went
actually
through
not crazy because you're still here and you drove through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And the shit. Yeah. It is honest to God the truth, man. You don't go through things, you grow through things, and you've grown so much for how much weight you lost.
Yeah. Right. Right. I've grown by losing. Yeah.
You look great, dude. So,
thanks, man.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And opening up, and it's never easy to sit and ever to be alive and talk about things that you regret, especially when it is combat related, or to talk about things that you're proud of when it's combat related. A lot of people,
absolutely,
it's like a different world when you come back and you're not the same. You're not a civilian anymore. You're a combat vet. Are you a Purple Heart recipient as well?
No, thank goodness.
I'm happy you don't have any holes in your man.
Absolutely.
Well, that's badass. Well, thank you for your service. What I like to do at the end of these is to ask, and it's like a kind of sum it up in like a paragraph kind of thing.
Sure.
What does service and sacrifice mean to you?
I get more enjoyment out of watching others succeed than myself. And I've always been in for the underdog. You know what I mean? There's people out there that don't have it as good as me. And even as rough as my life has been, there's people out there that haven't had it as good as me. And if I can do anything to help somebody's life get a little bit better, you know, there's been people that weren't there for me. You know, there's been people that have been there for me, and I feel what that's like. And just to be able to, if I can just make somebody's day a little bit better, then you've made a difference in life, in the world. You have.
Wow.
We've made a difference. Just maybe one person heard this. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk to somebody. Brother, that's all made everything worth it right there. One person, bro. You can't save them all, but if you could just do that for one person, think about it.
It's a lot to unpack with what you just said there. I'm gonna have to. I might have to listen back to this one. So obviously your service hasn't ended, so I'm not gonna say thank you for your service. I get the past tense thing, and thank you for serving because you're continuously doing it.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to end just because your contract's over.
And it won't with me. I really believe this is my calling, and I've really found it in the last year. You know, I'm just
can't look at you can't look away from destiny. You'll miss it.
I can't.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and this has been another episode of Off the Deep End with Eddie. If you like what we talked about, please do share this podcast. Let's talk about it. If you are going through something, please do reach out to our Facebook page. This is meant to be a conversation starter, as always. If you think what I'm saying is bullshit, reach out anyway. I'd love to hear from you. I'm not going to act like I know everything in the world, and if anybody thinks they know everything, they're sadly mistaken, because you can always grow and learn. So thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you want to, and more importantly, just share. The best thing you can do to support us here is share our message of positivity and talking through your trauma. So thank you so much to all my listeners and to all my vets out there. Special thank you for helping me put together this project, Service Sacrifice. This is season 1. Season 2 will be up probably the next couple months after I decompress from and listen to these
Yeah.
because wow, it has been an experience. All right, y'all. Much love and bye bye.